Hi, good morning. It's Miss Kendra again, back with a little bit more of Nickel and Dimed by Barbara Ehrenreich. I'm going to read part 3 of chapter 2 today. I actually recorded myself reading it yesterday, and the video was too long. It wouldn't upload on YouTube. So I'm going to shorten it today, read a little less, and hopefully this works out for you. I hope you guys are doing well. I miss you. I don't just say that. I really do miss you guys. And if anybody's watching this, which I hope somebody is, thank you for following along on Barbara's journey with me. And I think you'll find that what happens with her in Maine is an interesting comparison to what she went through in Key West, Florida. So when we left off last time, Barbara had gone and applied for some jobs. She had applied for one at Walmart, and she was struck by how um, on the computer, she took like a survey kind of, and she was struck by how many questions were about marijuana use. She thought, that's really odd that they seem to care so much about whether or not their employees smoke marijuana. So now she has a little bit to say about that. She says, what these tests tell employers about potential employees is hard to imagine, since the right answers should be obvious to anyone who's ever encountered the principle of hierarchy and subordination. So what she's talking about there is in large organizations, whether it's a government, a school, a large church organization, there's a hierarchy. And so it's like a pyramid, right? The highest person is at the top, and then there's levels below them, and then the people at the bottom are the subordinates, and they're required to do whatever the people at the top tell them to do. So that's what she's referring to here. Do I work well with others? You bet, but never to the point where I would hesitate to inform on them for the slightest infraction. So you see how she's saying there's some issues here with, like, they want you to be sort of independent and get along with other people, but also, turn somebody in if they're doing something wrong or you suspect there's something up with their behavior. So it's like mixed messages, right? Do I work well with others? You bet, but never to the point where I would hesitate to inform on them for the slightest infraction. Am I capable of independent decision making? Oh yes, but I know better than to let this capacity interfere with a slavish obedience to orders. Again, you see the conflict there? At the Maids, a house cleaning service, I'm given something called the AccuTrack personality test, which warns at the beginning that AccuTrack has multiple measures which detect attempts to distort or psych out the questionnaire. Naturally, I never find it hard to stop moods of self-pity, nor do I imagine that others are talking about me behind my back, or believe that management and employees will always be in conflict because they have totally different sets of goals. Here's the important part. She says, the real function of these tests, I decide, is to convey information not to the employer, but to the potential employee, i.e. the person taking the test. And the information being conveyed is always, you will have no secrets from us. We don't just want your muscles and that portion of your brain that is directly connected to them. We want your innermost self. So we already know Barbara is pretty critical of a lot of the ways that capitalism is institutionalized in America. And in this instance, she's saying that these tests that they're giving aren't really about them figuring out something about a potential employee. They're telling the person taking the test, the employee, we expect your total devotion. Mind, body, heart, all of it. And she doesn't like that. The main thing I learned from the job hunting process is that despite all the help wanted ads and job fairs, Portland is just another $6 to $7 an hour town. This should be as startling to economists as a bust of exotic radiation is to astronomers. Okay, now she's going to talk about supply and demand and economic principle. If the supply of labor is low relative to demand, the price should rise, right? That is the law. So if you need to hire people and you don't have many people available that you can hire, then you should offer more money, is what she's saying. You should up the hourly rate to hopefully get more people to apply. She says, that's the economic law and capitalism, right? She says, at one of the maid services I apply at, Mary Maids, my potential boss keeps me for an hour and 15 minutes, most of which is spent listening to her complain about the difficulty of finding reliable help. It's easy enough to think of a solution because she's offering $200 to $250 a week for an average hour of 40 hours a week, for an average of 40 hours a week. So Barbara starts trying to do the math in her head on that, right? Don't try to put that into dollars per hour, she warned, seeing my brow furrow as I tackle the not very long division. We don't calculate it that way. I do, however, and $5 to $6 an hour for what this lady freely admits is heavy labor with a high risk of repetitive stress injuries seem guaranteed to repel all mathematically able job seekers. So she's realizing the way when she does the math, this is not a good deal for her to take this job, this maid job. But I'm realizing that just as in Key West, one job will never be enough. In the new version of the law of supply and demand, jobs are so cheap as measured by the pay that a worker is encouraged to take on as many of them as she possibly can. So Barbara's realizing, even though there's a lot more jobs available immediately to her in Portland, that like Key West, if she's going to be able to make it, she's going to have to work more than just one job. I'm going to read one more paragraph and then we're done for today. After 2 days of sprinkling job applications throughout the greater Portland area, I forced myself to sit in my room at the Motel 6, where I'm marooned until the Blue Haven will let me in on Sunday, and wait for the phone to ring. This takes more effort than you might think because the room is too small for pacing and too dingy for daydreaming. Should I have been calm enough to give that a try? Fortunately, the phone rings twice before noon, and more out of claustrophobia than any serious economic calculation, I accept the first two jobs that are offered. A nursing home wants me on weekends for $7 an hour starting tomorrow. The maids is pleased to announce that I passed the AccuTrack test and can start on Monday at 7:30 a.m. This is the friendliest and best paying maid service I have encountered. $6.65 an hour, though as a punishment, this will drop to $6 for 2 weeks if I fail to show up for a day. I don't understand exactly what maid services do and how they are different from agencies, but Tammy, the office manager at the maids, assures me that the work will be familiar and easy since cleaning is in our blood. I'm not so sure about the easy part after the warnings I got at Mary Maids, but I figure my back should be able to hold out for a week. We're supposed to be done at about 3:30 every day, which will leave plenty of time for job hunting on weekday afternoons. I have my eye on a potato chip factory, a 10-minute drive from the Blue Haven. That's where her apartment's going to be, for example. Or I can always search out LL Bean and fill catalog orders from what I hope will be an ergonomically congenial seat. So I don't know if you're familiar with LL Bean. They are a sort of outdoor clothing company, and they send out catalogs, and then people order those catalogs and they fulfill them. They must be based in Portland. So she's thinking maybe I can get a job there with a nice, comfortable seat filling catalog orders. This is beginning to look like a plan. From maid service to something better, with the nursing home tiding me over during the transition. To celebrate, I ate dinner at Applebee's, a burger and a glass of red wine for $11.95 plus tip, consumed at the bar while involuntarily watching ESPN. So she decides to celebrate her new jobs with a burger at Applebee's. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. We'll get in tomorrow. We'll learn about what Barbara's job at the nursing home is like and how she manages to sort of balance everything that she's got going on with these new jobs in Portland, Maine. All right. If you guys have any thoughts about this, questions, and about anything, need anything at all, message me on Schoology, okay? And I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Love you guys. See ya. Bye-bye.